Hey, everybody. Welcome on back. You know where we are. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast, and it's brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila. What a perfect sponsor for this show, because it was just announced that the NASCAR Cup Series is headed to Mexico. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt for people who are not watching this and are just listening to it. Moonhead will be going as Cabeza de Luna for the rest of the show because we're going to Mexico next year. Spider and I had hit our Morgan, who's one of the people who kind of runs shit over at NASCAR. We said we're in if there's a spot. I speak fluent Spanish, and Spider tans like you wouldn't believe. He gets olive. So right. This podcast, especially this time, is brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila, the unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. Cabo Wabo isn't just tequila. It's damn good, thick-cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. And Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR. So add a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo. If you're headed to a race this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. But Cabo wants to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals. So please enjoy this thick-cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo Tequila responsibly. So grab your buds. A bottle of Cabo Wabo Tequila for the boldest race day experience. Got to be 21 years or older to handle this stuff, and you must handle it responsibly. But I cannot wait to be sitting on a beach somewhere near Mexico City with Spider, Quiggs, and Cabeza de Luna, and also Manolito, and sipping Cabo Wabo next year.
Manolito is crazy, bro.
Yeah, that's not bad, right?
The little I know about Spanish, I'm pretty sure if you add ito at the end as a suffix, it just means like a little version of whatever you just said. So
or
calling Manolito.
No, it's also a term of endearment. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like mamita, like, you know what I'm saying? Correct? Yeah, mamacita. Yeah. Un poco de...
It's just emphasis on the little Manoli.
Yeah.
I'm choosing not to take this as slander until further notice.
There we go.
Thank you, Manoli. I appreciate the quarter.
Speaking of Mexico, I was just telling the boys on the pod, I have a great race day fit that I'm already working up. So I'm going to get a sombrero.
A sombrero.
I'm getting a sombrero.
Okay.
And I'm going to do some arts and crafts and self-decorate it. And I'm going to get maybe like 8 to 10 of my favorite die casts and glue them on top around the sombrero as if they're racing around my hat. And then I'll wear that lid for race day in Mexico City. I think that will be a big hit. Hopefully that's not, do you think they would be okay with that?
I think that you would be appropriating the culture and possibly making fun. But I would say still do it. There's a guy that we've met multiple times at the track, and I think he makes a pretty good living off of creating bolo ties out of smaller, like not the big die cast, obviously, huge, the smaller die casts, and then he runs the bolos through there. And I think he does good business. I wish I knew who he was because I'd love to give him a shout out right now. They're pretty goddamn cool. So Spider, if you get in touch with him and do a collabo,
what? Maybe I'll hire him to to design it. But yeah, that's genius.
Because there's strength in numbers. And so if you do it by yourself, they might say, oof, I don't know, he's with large. You know what I mean? The old racist. But if you do it with a bunch of people, strength in numbers, and all of a sudden you got your own little DNC in Mexico City.
If I'm not mistaken, the guy who makes the bolo ties name is Sparky Speedway Jewelry on Instagram.
Ooh, nice pull.
At least that's one of the bolo tie NASCAR creators. So
it's got to be just one.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a pretty niche market, but yeah, check them out. They look sweet. And
this is a NASCAR podcast. Let's talk about it. Bolo ties. Yay or nay? Have you ever worn one? Would you ever wear one? I'm an enthusiast. I'll go first. I have a glow-in-the-dark amber one that has a scorpion inside of it that I believe I had bought in Mexico. So that's my pride and joy. I have 4 or 5 others. Do you guys enjoy a bolo tie? Go ahead.
I've never worn one. And if I were going to wear one, it would be one of these ones from Sparky. And it would probably be at like the NASCAR Awards. Just for a little extra flair, a little theming for the night. You know, you got to dress nice. So instead of something more traditional like a normal tie, see me with the NASCAR bolo. I think that'd be cool. But no, I've never worn one. I've never even been to Mexico, so I'm really looking forward to that. I know that's kind of irrelevant, but
no, it's extremely relevant. Do you have a passport?
I do. I've been to London before. I've been to the Bahamas.
Is it in date? You got to know that.
Yeah, no, it's
I've answered yes to I have a passport,
actually,
and I didn't have a passport.
I think so.
I would look. You don't want to do it last minute because it's
tough to do last minute. Yeah. Quigs, yay or nay to bolo tie, and yay or nay to you having a passport?
The bolo tie thing goes in my like category. There's a lot of stuff that I think is cool, but not for me. Like a lot of stuff that I see that I'm like, that's cool, but I can never pull that off. That's one of those. And yes, I have a passport. I dealt with a passport issue recently, but I'm good. I'm good for the next 10 years or something like that.
Before we ask Moonhead, do you guys think that Moonhead has a passport, and do you think that he's a bolo tie enthusiast?
Way more likely to be a bolo tie enthusiast than passport.
That's an insult. That's by the way. If you're looking for your first insult, I don't believe it was Cabeza de Luna. I believe it was that one shot across your bow by one shot.
Like
I do. I apologize. Recently, I've been like talking about Moonhead.
You've been very caustic.
Just like
you've been very caustic.
I'll double down then, Quigs. I feel like I could see Moonhead never having worn a tie a day in his life, but I can't wait to hear what he's about to say. So take the floor.
I had to Google what a bolo tie was.
Okay.
So that answers that. And then, no, I don't have a passport. It's a miracle I even have a driver's license. I don't like doing paperwork and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're not helping me out, Moonhead, when I'm trying to shit on Quigs. Be honest with you, Quigs hit it right on the fucking head. I apologize, Sean, deeply. You're 100% right. Yep. You were just spitting facts, and I took it the wrong way, like Spider making fun of the whole Mexican country. Well, the country of Mexico, I probably should say, by wearing the hat. You know what I mean?
I think they'll love it. If there's any Mexican audience, let me know your temperature on that.
So these are the deets. We'll race at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, which I believe means the Autodrome of the Rodriguez brothers in Mexico City next year, scheduled for June 14th and 15th of 2025. The Xfinity and the Cup Series are going to run down there. Sorry, trucks. NASCAR will utilize the same circuit as Formula One for its annual Mexican Grand Prix. The Cup Series ran some exhibitions in Japan in 96 and 98, as well as one in Australia in 88. But the last points-paying international cup race was 1958, before I was born. Very rarely do I get to say that here. At the Canadian Exposition Stadium in Toronto, and before that there was another Canadian race in 1952, also up in America's Hat in Canada. However, this track hosted a NASCAR Xfinity Series race 4 times between 2005 and 2008. I have a couple of questions. This is a road course. It's a 2.6-mile road course in Mexico. Are you guys disappointed a little bit with that? How do you feel about the rumor that's been going around? It hasn't been announced yet because we haven't seen the full schedule yet, that it's taking one of the races away from Richmond. Did they do the right thing by taking it from Richmond? And how do you feel about adding another road course? Obviously, this is, again, fits into the genius plan of Shane Van Cheeseburger to fucking take over the world. So how do you guys feel about it? I think you know how I do.
I'm personally a big fan of this move. Richmond rocks. I had a great time there getting in the car with Dale Jr. last season. But at the same time, and I might get smoked for saying this, I feel like there's a couple tracks that probably don't deserve 2 dates. I think it might be beneficial for Richmond to kind of focus on one weekend a year where they really pack that bitch out and have a great weekend, as opposed to trying to sell 2 dates. And I think that's back to my whole argument with, give these markets one opportunity per season, but give them a fair opportunity, meaning if it rains, they still have a chance to get their race in, however that looks like. But I think this is great. I'm pro get NASCAR to new and fresh markets. That's literally the name of what this show is. And Mexico, I just got done saying I've never been there. Mexico City seems like a bucket list destination. The track itself seems beautiful. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know how Kyle Busch will be in attendance, but
what's going on with that? Isn't he banned?
I saw Bob Pockris say that no headache is expected, but still, I don't
that
really
just came
know.
out.
He had that thing on him, right? Like he was packing the Thule in Mexico. He was ready.
I remember the story. I didn't know that it was in Mexico.
Yeah, it was in Mexico.
But it was because it was the Clash, right? Like they went straight down to Mexico because there's that week break between the Clash and Daytona.
Yeah.
So I think the haulers all drove back. He packed up the 357 Magnum and headed south to the border, got busted. And now I guess we're just going to kind of let him in and just promise not to bring any firearms.
The logistics behind it seem like crazy hard to deal with, but again, credit to NASCAR. It seems like they'll be able to pull it off, and they're confident. So I can't wait to see the product itself. And I look forward to hopefully being in attendance. Hopefully we can make that happen. Large, am I crazy to assume we'll be there?
I don't think it's a crazy assumption by any stretch. I really don't, because the place can hold. Again, I'm a little disappointed with the whole road course thing.
How many
let me ask
international
you this.
ovals are there, though?
I don't know, but let me ask you this.
That's a good question, Quicks. And also, sorry, Large. This track is like right in the heart of Mexico City, at least from what I'm seeing on Google Maps. Again, I'm not super well versed with the city or Mexico at all, but it's cool to me that it's going to be like kind of a Chicago race vibe, in the sense that like it is right in the city itself. Like,
it goes around a stadium, right? Like, I think in the middle of the road course, there's like a soccer stadium.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very, very interesting. But I will ask you, Quiggs, carrying on to Moon 2, like, I know that you have to rob Peter to pay Paul in order to have these different locations. And I'm excited about Mexico also. Do you think they should have got rid of a road course to add a road course just to keep that mix to where maybe they wanted? Or is like Charlotte Roval? Like, I'm just saying, is there someplace else?
Maybe the Roval would have been the right move, because I was gonna say I like the idea of taking a place that's doubled up on races and leaving them with one, but maybe the Roval was the move to make there.
Yeah,
Charlotte gets a race without the Roval, and that's a road course. So yeah, I would say Roval might have been the one to remove.
How do you feel about the removal of Richmond, Moon? And was there some place that they could have went different? How do you feel about Mexico?
I agree with Quiggs. I like the idea of a place like Richmond going down to one date, but I also think that they probably should have traded a road course, because the Cup car at least don't race all that great on the road courses, and there's already, I mean, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's a lot of road courses now as it is. So I don't know if adding another one was a great move, but I think just the event will overcome all the negative stuff. I mean, even with like Chicago, we've never even run the full distance race at Chicago and people still love it. So I think that Mexico City will kind of get the pass like Chicago.
I'll play devil's advocate, Moon.
Go.
I think the Cup cars now are the easiest Cup cars to race on the road courses ever. And they're designed with that intention, which is, to me, no surprise why they're adding another road course. I go back to the lap around the Chicago street course I did with Brad Keselowski, and he even said that himself, that, you know, these Cup car or the next gen cars now have just made road racing a little bit more easy, which is fine. But I'm of the opinion I kind of miss the chaos that came from the last generation road racing. Those Roval races we saw with the old gen cars were chaos. And you want to talk about unpredictable races, or who's going to win, or who's going to be there late. That to me was kind of, I don't know, I kind of missed that in a sense. So I think that this now is a little bit more kind of easy for them to drive, and we see results like guys like Shane Van Gisbergen, who are, you know, studs on road courses, do it handily. So I don't know, I kind of miss the chaos.
Do you think that NASCAR is put itself in a difficult situation with the scheduling? Like, again, without a traditional West Coast jaunt, right? Without a traditional West Coast, you know, segment now for the schedule, how the hell did they get these haulers to and from Mexico without some sort of week off if they're not going to stay out there on the West Coast? Like, how are they going to schedule this? Where do you see, is there a chance that the four of us, the five of us are in Mexico City, then the next week while we're out there, we just go to Vegas? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think they're going to have to do? Or is this going to be one of those standalones where it's like, okay, we're going to be over here. Let's go to Iowa for a Saturday and Sunday, then come back to the Southeast.
Where are they racing the week before?
We don't know the schedule yet. That's the whole thing. Like, they haven't announced the 2025 schedule.
They've got to do a Texas race before it, I would think.
Probably, yeah.
Because if you do Texas to Mexico City, probably isn't that much different than a long U.S. road trip.
Yeah,
Mexico City is down there, bro.
Don't bro me.
Hey, Broseph.
Way down
Hey,
there.
Bro Cephas.
I know, but how
so
much
fucking
farther
pumped
is
up.
that than, like,
But
North Carolina,
LA?
Phoenix?
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the logistics, but could they even do that? would they go race at Texas and then say, you know what, we don't have to go back to North Carolina and the team shops, we're already ready to go further south? That to me almost seems like that's not how it works. Again, I don't know how it works, but part of me feels like it would be in the best interest to do this around a race that's already close to Charlotte. That way it's really only one road trip. If they do a race in NASCAR's backyard, and the teams don't really have a big travel week that week, I could see the week before or after being the Mexico week. So,
and this isn't the Clash. Everyone who goes out will be able to race, right? Like there was nothing more insulting than having someone go out, do 9 qualifying laps, not make it to the Clash, and have to drive home from LA while everybody else gets the race. So I don't know. I think this is going to be wonderful. I'm hoping that we get there. We're going to talk about everything that happened in Daytona because we had a great weekend of racing, and we're also happy to say that we're going to have Harrison Burton on to talk about what's going on in his life. But before that, we do need to talk about some of this stuff. So Chicago is, for all intents and purposes, going to be on the schedule next year. But beyond that, NASCAR had alluded to a couple other cities that they were talking to. One of them was San Diego. And the other one was Denver. Those were the 2 big ones that they put out. Both of those sound great. San Diego is awesome, right? I've been out there a bunch of times.
Never been there either, Large.
Get out of here, real. Oh, San Diego is 75 and sunny.
That's
right
like the number
all the time, man.
Until the cars get on the track.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Then it's going to rain biblical amounts. But no, if you could tell me, like if God forbid, if I were on my deathbed right now and I had like 1 week to travel, that's probably where I would go. I've never been there. It just seems beautiful. That's at the top of my list in terms of domestic destinations that I need to get to.
We'd gone out. So I'd gone out because Canelo Alvarez. Ooh, should I reach out to NASCAR and say that my good friend Canelo Alvarez, I have the tattoo on the shoulder of him. You know, I'm very close with one of the greatest Mexican superheroes to have ever lived. Should I say I'll reach out to him, get him to be, Grand Marshal or whatever?
Yes,
and then we
perfect.
get down there with him. Like
Large.
That might be the selling point, right?
I love that.
Yeah, I would pimp myself out for that in a sec. But I will tell you, I also went out to San Diego once with Clem and Eddie, 2 of my favorite people in the world, 2 of the greatest people in the world, even though Clem doesn't know what a fucking good steak is. And we went out to San Diego. I was on the ground for maybe, 10 hours, and I was in the air for 12 to get to and from. Clem, that genius, took a long weekend, and he stayed like at this cheesy resort right outside of SeaWorld and had the fucking time of his life. Like, I was so jealous leaving this bastard. Like, me and fucking Eddie are rolling our bags out at 5 a.m. the next morning, and Clem is ordering a boat drink. I think we'll really have fun out there. So Denver, I wouldn't mind. San Diego, I wouldn't mind. I'm going to ask you 3 guys, you 3 fellas, the other 3 cities outside of those 2 that I just mentioned, San Diego and Denver, that were being bandied about were Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Out of those, so we're looking San Diego and Denver. We're racing in the mountains. We're also racing by the sea lions, all that kind of shit. Then you have Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and what was the other one? Baltimore.
Yeah.
So out of those 3, I will tell you right now, Cincinnati with a bullet. I think Cincinnati is a sneaky good town. I've been to Pittsburgh way too often for rough and rowdy, and I've been mugged in Baltimore. So I have a real easy, way of saying, and I was drunk coming home from a T-Row dinner. I deserved it. But Cincinnati, number 1 with the bullet. How do you guys feel about, we're going to Mexico City, maybe we're going to Denver, maybe we're going to San Diego, or maybe we're going to Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, or Baltimore? Where would you want to go?
I will defer to the crew. I know what my last pick would be.
I would go with Pittsburgh.
Really? Pittsburgh, great town for you. It's a great town. I just been a bunch.
Iron City. I'm kind of going off a lot of this. It's like what's the backdrop that you get? And I just kind of think of like the backdrop that the Pittsburgh Pirates have, which is one of the best
3 Rivers
views
That's
in baseball.
true.
Yeah,
it's just
cool.
a city with a lot of
Very
bridges.
Cool.
I don't know. I think Pittsburgh would be a cool town that would appreciate it.
All right, I'll go next. I was going to put Pittsburgh at the last.
That's fair. I mean, they're all like all of them are.
I would
don't know if
probably
they'd be
say
my first choice, but
I would probably say Cincinnati first. I mean, my first pick would be Montreal, but out of the ones listed, I would probably be Cincinnati, and that's only because I feel like Ohio or the Midwest kind of has racing in its. I don't know, but I don't mean to discount, like you said, Pittsburgh's a steel city, a lot of blue collar people, like that kind of similar vibe. I just feel as though like Cincy, given the Ohio Midwest ties, would be pretty good, and then Baltimore/DMV area would be interesting, intriguing. I'm thinking like Washington D.C., which is probably
is steaming. That you're shitting on Baltimore. Like no one's mentioned Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of us are fans of The Wire.
I forgot Manoli's
Manoli's huge Baltimore. Baltimore, with the bridges and stuff. Once you guys figure that out, keeping them up, then maybe we'll go fucking run. That's a shot across your mouth.
No. Complete opposite. There's no world in the next 5 years where running a race in Baltimore is a good idea.
Oh, okay. So you're on that. You're on that.
That is a disaster class waiting to happen.
Really?
There's
okay.
no
So
way that goes well.
Crab Cake's out, and now we're just between Primanti Brothers and Skyline Chili.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know. So
I don't know. Actually, Pittsburgh's starting to sound better and better.
Cool.
Pittsburgh's a great town. Like I went out there with Willie for a Steelers game, but I've been a bunch. Yeah. I've never been to Cincinnati, and I drove through Cincinnati to bring Mick down to Alabama. We went from West Virginia to Tuscaloosa, so I think Cincinnati's in there. And I was impressed. And one of his friends is from there. He's like, "Oh yeah, you got to go. It's great and all that." So, and I do like Skyline Chili. I'm not going to say that ironically. I fucking love it. It's got a little cinnamon in it. I don't give a shit. I like shit over spaghetti. You've never had fucking Skyline?
No, actually, yeah. So Cincy or Pittsburgh, I do love Primanti Bros too. Well, we're just rattling
with
off.
the fucking fries on it. Yeah. Moonhead, you're the most worldly out of all of us. Never had a passport or a bolo tie. What do you like?
So I'm the only one out of the three I've been to Cincinnati, and I just don't know like how they would put a racetrack there.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of an awkward city. Baltimore would be the worst because IndyCar tried it and it failed. So I guess that leaves Pittsburgh. Seems like a cool city. Never been there, but I'll take y'all's word on it. That'd probably be pretty cool. It would probably make the most sense too. Like I don't know how much good having a race in Cincinnati is gonna do.
Yeah.
Well, I think like now when we see this announcement that we're going to Mexico, does that make the Bowman Gray thing make more sense? Like the Bowman Gray announcement, because the traditional NASCAR guys will say you don't need to do these fancy foreign places like Los Angeles, Yeah. So now you're going to take that and put it on steroids and go to Mexico, but to appease the traditionalists, but we're bringing the Clash Melee back to Bowman Gray. You know what I mean? We're going to run at Rockingham, at least for Xfinity and the trucks. Like to go back to these traditional places. We're going to give Iowa another shot. We're going to bring it back to Iowa. And then that gives them a little bit of license to go to Mexico City or in 2026 to then go to Montreal, which we're also hoping on because I want to go to Montreal probably most of all. That'd be the place that I'd wanted to go within North America. So you think that might be it? You think they're catering to the traditionalists?
Yeah, I think like back in the day, a lot of people were mad when NASCAR headed out west and abandoned like the Wilkesboros and the Rockinghams and all that. So I think now they want to find the compromise where obviously it's worth going to a place like Mexico City because it makes the sport look legitimate globally, I guess. But at the same time, you don't want to make like the core fan base mad by turning your back on what they fell in love with and what made them love NASCAR. Like I didn't fall in love with NASCAR by watching them race in Mexico City. Now I think it's cool, but I would be mad if NASCAR just abandoned every track over that I'm a fan of to go race in France or something. You know what I mean? So like I think they're doing a good job of finding the balance where they can do a huge event that's internationally relevant in Mexico City, but then make the rest of us happy by doing something that holds a lot of historic value and kind of gives us the short track chaos that we want in the Clash.
They also they need one of these races to work, like the Chicago, the Mexico, all these. Like if none of them end up being good, or
it's a good point.
Like it's not going to work. It's like they can't just put a race somewhere and be like, we're NASCAR, we're racing here, you're going to enjoy it. Like one of these has to be a race that people get excited for it to like go again, which I think Chicago was on. Like I think if Chicago would have ran clean for the past 2 years, we would have a better idea of if that's possible, but I don't know.
I agree with Moonhead. I think if you're going to add something new and out of the box like international destinations, Mexico City, it's good to make sure you're not losing sight of your, long-term fan base and the people that have been, NASCAR fans their entire life. So I think Bowman Gray edition is a great kind of way to balance that, as Moonhead said.
You think they did that on purpose, Spider? Like, shut the fuck up. We're giving you Bowman Gray, Rockingham, Iowa, North Wilkesboro, we're going to go back to all that stuff. So let us go to Mexico, right? Like one of those things?
Yeah. Honestly, I do feel like that. But I also feel like that's great self-awareness by NASCAR, saying like, hey, it's essential that we try new things. We have to evolve. We have to try new markets. And in the same breath, they're also, like I said, not losing sight of their original fans that propelled them to where they're at now. So I think it's a necessary evil. And I got to be honest, Bowman Gray, maybe it's because we're new NASCAR fans and I'm just ignorant and, whatever it may be. That, to me, it did nothing for me. But the Mexico City one, I'm like saving the date. And like I said, going to do everything in my power to make sure that we're there. So as much as the traditional NASCAR fans may be excited about one date, it's good that there's kind of something for everyone.
Yeah, I agree with you. Somebody had sent me, a gentleman named Justin Hill had sent me a clip from Bowman Gray, and did you see that? The one where the two
it basically
brothers
explained everything Moonhead was saying about it, and it happened like 2 days ago.
It's unfucking real. These two brothers, these two racers get into a demolition derby in the infield, and I believe the guy who won the race, perhaps, then comes to the aid of his brother, who's one of the guys in the demolition derby, and starts fucking ramming this other dude. He jumps out of his car, goes to jump in the driver's side. That guy does a donut and flips him out. It's unbelievable. I know they won't
get there.
Yeah, they won't let that happen. It's sort of like, oh, you're going down to where Rough and Rowdy is. They don't let what happens in Rough and Rowdy in West Virginia happen when they bring the Ice Capades to West Virginia. And it's the same thing. I'm sure NASCAR will hold itself to a little bit of a higher standard. But, man, they got a lot of fucking cool clips to get people excited about Bowman Gray, like Spider and I, who don't have much historical, perspective on it. And especially this thing, I guess the original one was by some guy, Hawk Luxington, the Lux Rider. But Justin Hill sent it to me, and I appreciate it because I fucking fell in love with it. All right, so we'll move away from all that shit. We'll talk a little bit about the silly season. SVG is officially in the 88 for Trackhouse. Congratulations, that's fucking awesome. Yeah. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about the 88? How do we feel about that? And then we're going to talk about Zane Smith in a second, because I had heard Zane Smith being bandied about as being part of the three-headed Hydra at Front Row in 25, alongside with Noah Gragson and Todd Gilliland. All that stuff is not confirmed. There's no confirmation to it. And as a matter of fact, I think Spider has some sort of breaking opinions on it. So how do you guys feel about what's going down with Shane Van Gisbergen and Zane Smith?
Yeah, no surprise here. I think we all saw SVG coming to the third Trackhouse car. Hate it for Zane Smith, who, I'm a fan of. But I also think he will be fine in some capacity. I'm not sure explicitly what. But the biggest surprise, like I said, it was no surprise SVG was getting that ride. The surprise here was that he would be driving the 88 car. So, yeah, I don't know. That was probably pretty much my takeaway from that.
Did they pull Zane Smith along here a little bit, Trackhouse? I mean, is it because I feel like the kid's almost being disrespected, right? The Zane Smith guy, like they brought him up and just to kind of cut bait on him after he seems to be getting a little bit better here towards the end of the season. I know he hasn't been a world beater or anything like that, and they do have this lightning in a jar in Shane, who I joke around about a lot, but he's an incredibly talented driver and is going to do very well probably in the Cup. But did they fuck Zane Smith here a little bit? Is he being fucked? I like, to your point, I like the kid, and I feel like he's being fucked a little.
I don't know. I will defer to the rest of the crap. Part of me feels like that Trackhouse's hands are tied. You have a world-class talent that's literally up and moved his life over here and proven that he's worthy of a shot. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to take a risk on that, especially given that Shane is, 30 plus. He is not a young prospect. So, well, I shouldn't say that. He has a lot of, potential. But in terms of development, he's not going to get any better than what he is right now. So, actually, even that I don't really agree with.
So you don't think Shane's going to get any
No,
better?
Shane is definitely going to get better. The more he races on ovals, he's definitely kind of learning. But I don't know. My point is he's not like the young prospect that Zane Smith is. So Zane, he doesn't have time to spare in his career. He's got to be thrown into the top seat right away. So it sucks for Zane Smith, but I don't know what Trackhouse's options were. Maybe they try to get secure a fourth car, but I don't even know if that's possible with all the chaos that has been this season. So it sucks for Zane Smith. I also think I'm a little bit more aggressive on the opinion that you are, Large. I do think he's kind of turned a corner in the second half of the season, and if I'm a team looking for a driver, I think his resume is fairly impressive, especially now. He's paid his dues in the Cup season for 1 year. It's a learning curve, even in the Cup moving up to Cup. So we've seen guys struggle in their first year. We saw it with Noah Gragson last year. It takes time before these guys are going to put up results that are respectable or expected. So Zane is a good prospect given that he's already paid his dues and kind of seems to have learned quickly in the second half of the season here.
Do you like that lineup potentially of him, Noah, and Todd Gilliland driving front row at 25?
I do, but this morning I saw on the Happy Hour podcast a headline come across from Kevin Harvick that said that it might not be Zane Smith and that Ford or maybe front row, I'm not sure explicitly who, might not have been happy with the way that he took the Trackhouse job a year ago, and that might unfortunately cost him any seat at front row, which I personally think is nonsense. Zane was very adamant that he was ready and wanted to move up to Cup. I think he earned that in his truck performances, and I think he's done a fine job this year. Granted, it's taken him a little while to get there, but I don't know. I don't think part of me, to answer your question, and this is unrealistic, I want to see a front row lineup of Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland, and Austin Cindric, the three best friends on pit road, all racing for one team week after week with a collective effort. That would be really cool. I love what they have done, signing Noah, and you guys know how I feel about Todd Gilliland. I don't know who the third car is. Personally, I've been beating the drum for Zane Smith the last couple weeks on this show, and I still would like it to be him instead of, I don't know, Sam Mayer or whoever else they could be. Maybe it is Harrison Burton. Who knows? I don't know who they're plotting. But it should be Zane, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, we know there's going to be a lot of people without seats, and some of them we feel, relatively strongly about. Some of them we don't care.
Zane's also already had success for front row. I think they would be foolish not to welcome him back.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. How do you feel about it, Quiggs or Moon?
I'm like very high on SVG, and I think that's the guy you have to go with, especially with all these road courses now. Like, he's a guy that will probably be the favorite for every road course we have, and let's say he can win 3 of those a year. Like, that's tough to, and like, who knows how good he'll get on ovals and all that. But if you can almost lock in a couple wins a year, I don't think that's something you could do with Zane Smith. So yeah, unfortunate for him, but SVG is the guy that you got to go with for that Trackhouse seat.
My prediction is SVG sweeps Mexico City next year. He runs the Xfinity on Saturday, and then he runs it, and he narrowly beats Daniel Suarez on the Sunday race. And I don't know.
That's going to be a sick dynamic for Trackhouse, just to have two kind of nasty road course, international road course superstars. Yeah, exactly.
Moon, how do you feel about Zane Smith?
I mean, I think he's good. I feel bad for him, but I think we all saw it coming. Trackhouse has SVG, and then they've also got Zilish they've got to think about in just a couple of years. So, like, at the end of the day, like, tough decisions have to be made, and there's only so many seats. So I don't think they made the wrong choice. I think Zane will be fine going back to front row. I saw what Harvick said, but I feel like if the check clears, I think they'll forgive him if they are mad at him for leaving.
I mean, I think they'd be foolish not to. Who are the other potential candidates for that ride? So let's say Harvick is right and they don't hire Zane Smith. We're looking at, I don't even know.
My brain is so broken from
Sam
who's
Mayer,
going where.
Riley Herbst, I guess, is an Xfinity guy trying to make the jump. Priest, maybe. Yeah. Harrison Burton. But
How about this one? How about Corey LaJoy?
No, they a pass. I don't think front row is probably not very happy with him either. I mean, he kind of.
I don't know if anybody's happy
Yeah,
with the Joyride.
yeah. Again, he wrecked a lot of cars and then seemed to be kind of a jerk merging onto the track as all the leaders were coming
That
by.
was
So
wild.
So
Let's talk about that real quick, Spider.
Yeah.
What's going on with Corey LaJoie, and is he doing more damage to his career in the past couple of weeks than he's done in the past couple of years?
I genuinely feel bad coming on here week after week and just kind of like taking shots. But dude, what was that? It's just crazy. That looks like what I would do on iRacing on like my first day out on the server. Like, I don't know. It just seemed crazy. Todd Gill and the onboard camera was kind of nuts watching him check up and react to that.
Yeah, to the merge, right?
Yeah,
And he's
so
kind
I
of blending
can't
in.
imagine that front row guys would welcome Corey LaJoie with open arms, which is why he was not on my short list of candidates for that ride.
So what we're talking about is what happened this weekend at Daytona. So let's recap the whole goddamn thing. And this recap is brought to you by Cars.com. Who got the Employee of the Month out in Chicago? The employee parking space of the month?
I think it's
There was big drama about it.
Is it still KB?
It was, yeah, so it was White Sox Dave, but he gave it to Donnie, and then KB won it, but doesn't have a car, but doesn't want anybody to park in his spot. I don't know.
That's great. So for people who don't know, Cars.com is offering an employee parking, the suite employee parking space at Chicago HQ. I believe KB, is, as Quigg said, doesn't drive, but he had won it, and so he's just going to, I don't know, park a scooter there or something.
Yeah.
But either way, while Cars.com parking spot is very helpful, not having to battle for a spot every morning at Chicago, the Cars.com Your Garage feature is probably even better. I love how I can track my car's value to see how much it'll be worth in 2 months. I've been thinking about getting something different, and knowing my car's value is beyond helpful in making that decision, because I don't know how Maybachs go up and down in price. Since KB has the Cars.com parking spot this week, he'll have plenty of extra time to create an account with Cars.com and track his car's value if he was to have one, and I implore you guys to do the same. KB got the most prized parking spot at Barstool, but we can all grab some very valuable insights into our car's value with Cars.com Your Garage feature. Your Garage is the feature that we're pushing here. And the Barstool employee parking garage is frustrating, but Cars.com's new feature, Your Garage, is anything but. Track your car's value so you can know exactly what to expect when you're ready to sell. So track your car's value on Cars.com. All right, so this was a good race. This was a great race. This was one for the ages. I've seen the Jeff Gluck thing. I think 92% said it was a good race. I've seen some other stuff where people are absolutely glowing about this. How happy were you guys about what had gone down on Saturday night? Excuse me. I apologize. I said Sunday, but Saturday night.
I almost got emotional, Large.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if you were watching that race and upset with it, you gotta either. You got to see like a psychologist or a shrink or something, because something's wrong with you, because that was one of the most exciting finishes I've ever seen. I was rooting for Kyle Busch. I wanted Kyle Busch to come across the line first there. But there is something like so dramatic about racing at Daytona. Obviously, maybe it's the wrecks, but like, I don't know, whether it's the 2001 season where Dale Earnhardt dies and then Junior wins the next race back there, or what, maybe I'm crazy for comparing it, but like there just seems so much drama every single time. There's always whatever the biggest possible storyline is, it happens. You got the 100th win for Wood Brothers. You got Jeff Burton calling his son's first Cup Series win from the broadcast booth, which was incredible, by the way. I don't know. That one was one where, as much as I like get upset or frustrated when the rain comes, I was very just happy and satisfied watching that result, as much as I wanted the result to be different. You have to be happy for Harrison Burton. Seeing his mom, his fiance, his dad in the booth celebrating like that is just one of the most like chills went down my spine. I'm not very eloquent in describing how I feel about it, but it was very dramatic and like fulfilling, I would say. And I couldn't be happier for Harrison Burton, who seems like one of the best kids ever. So
I'm very glad he's coming on. And again, Harrison Burton's coming on in just a couple of minutes. Quiggs, what was your take on the Daytona?
I thought it was amazing. I did a move you do where I had a wedding on Saturday, so I had to watch it not in real time, which that takes a little bit of the air out of it, but the actual racing and the drama was unbelievable. I thought it was an amazing race. Yeah,
I got to watch this one in real time because it was Saturday night. It was actually, it's actually perfect for me. Yeah. Moonhead, what did you think of Daytona? And then is the summer Daytona race more exciting than the 500? Just with the playoff implications that we get to throw in there. Daytona 500, I know, is crown jewel and all that kind of shit. But what do you think that in general though? Like now when you add this added wrinkle, like Kyle Busch needs to maintain the 19-season streak, and well, is this guy getting to playoffs and stuff? It does add a nice wrinkle that you don't get that early in the season. So what you think?
I think it's got its own feel, that's for sure. I think I don't know that you can really compare the two. They feel so different. But I would definitely say the summer or the August race is way wilder. A lot of times the 500, it seems, just because of all the desperation. And for some of these guys, like Harrison Burton, there's no way in hell he was going to win Darlington with how they ran this year. So that was his last chance. And he's going to go now from 34th in points or whatever it was to 16th. So that's huge for that team. So people do crazy things. They tear a lot of shit up. But what I really loved about the race was that they raced the entire time. We've seen a lot of the fuel saving stuff at the plate tracks here lately. And maybe they were doing it a little bit. I know they rode 3 wide, kind of gridlocked for a little bit. So maybe there was some fuel saving games happening there. But looking at like the speeds, they were actually racing. They weren't riding around at 180 or whatever they were doing at some of the other races. So I think that in itself made this one probably the best. I felt like the best of the 2 Daytona races this year. Probably better than Dega. I think the only one that beat it out was Atlanta, just because, I mean, you can't really replicate that finish or top that. That was pretty cool.
That's exactly what I wanted to say, Moonhead. Atlanta, we saw Daniel Suarez beat Ryan Blaney by .003 seconds. We saw an Xfinity win where Ryan Sieg lost to Sam Merritt, Texas, by .002 seconds. Then Larson wins at Kansas over Buescher by .001 seconds. That was all before what we saw at Daytona this weekend. Then you got Kyle Busch and Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton beat him to the line by .047 seconds for the win. Just if you want to take a step back and look at how spoiled we've been with finishes this year, I think, I don't know, I need to take a minute and just acknowledge the greatness that we've seen. Not only in the Cup Series, I also saw the Ryan Sieg, Sam Merritt Xfinity one. So I don't know what it's been this season, but we have been spoiled. As much as, it sucked when the rain comes around. When we do get these races in, we've had some fucking bangers, and that is not to be taken for granted.
Do you think so? I appreciate you giving NASCAR some props on that because they put together a honey of a season. And you're talking about we have to deal with all the rain. I had seen a tweet from Steven Stumpf on X. There have been 10 overtime finishes in the last 17 non-shortened Cup races. Those 10 overtimes have accounted for 92 extra laps. Steven is the content director at Front Stretch. The all-time record for overtime finishes in a season is 11, set back in 2017. So we're one away from that with 11 races to go. Is that overtime thing also a wrinkle that's added to this? Because I know the rain takes away from it, but non-shortened overtime races, has that made this season more, I don't know, juicy than seasons past too, you think? I don't know.
I guess it depends on what you like. I like an overtime finish. It's exciting, it's fun. I think some people like races to kind of go a little more natural to the finish, but I don't know. It's more exciting. It might be more frustrating for a lot of people, but it is exciting.
Quiggs, while I have you, Jimmy Johnson was in the booth.
Yeah.
How'd Jimmy Johnson do?
Honestly, I was more focused on Lee Diffie.
Okay.
But
give me a grade on Jimmy Johnson's Spider.
I would say A. And that's with the context that at least I'm aware of from Jimmy Johnson. I was not expecting him to come in and, speak a whole lot. He kind of, to me, picked his spots and provided interesting insight, whether it be his perspective as a team owner with John Hunter and Eric Jones. I forget, someone asked him, about, in real time, his reaction to certain stuff that was happening on the race as a team owner, which I thought was a valuable and interesting perspective. And then you also had him providing, I would say he was the second color commentator. Burton and it did a great job in the booth, but like when they threw it to Jimmy, he was just full of knowledge, and it wasn't that often. But I was equally content with the amount of screen time he got because it was a nice, fresh kind of addition when they did throw it to him.
I didn't need any more of him, though. Like, I think you're right. I think NASCAR did a good job. The questions were sort of in his wheelhouse. He didn't have to respond to things on the fly. It would be like, all right, Jimmy, then from perspective of somebody who's come back to race in this Gen 7, like, how do you feel? Like, all of them were Jimmy Johnson questions. Like, you didn't have to deal with it. So I was happy, but I didn't want any more of it. I thought it was good to have him in the seat that he was, which I guess is a veiled shit on, but it is what it is. But to Quiggs's point, the Lee Diffie thing was much bigger because he had such a bigger presence and whatnot. And there has been mixed reviews on it, even though there have been people on Twitter who have said, you know, I'll fight anybody who doesn't like Lee Diffie's call. And that's Moonhead who put that out there.
That was after
so talk to me about Lee.
9.
No, you're 100% able to do that. And I don't mean to bring it up because, well, of course I mean to bring it up. But talk to me about how you guys felt about Lee. I'm going to go with Quiggs first just because I purposely jumped away to talk about Jimmy with Spider. So what did you do? Spider gives Jimmy Johnson an A. I'm probably going more towards the B category. How do you feel about Lee and how he did on the call? Totally different job. I know that. But
I think an easy A. Like, I don't think there's any argument. If he doesn't have an accent, I think everybody's on the same page in the NASCAR world. Like, I think is he English or Australian?
He's Australian.
Yeah.
I think that
they're all
throws some people off, but the excitement that he brought to the call, and I don't know, it was refreshing, and I thought he did an awesome job. It might take a little bit to get used to just like, because I don't know, it gives the race a different feel. It feels a little like a different series. Just hearing, I don't know, just having that accent, but I'm able to get over it. And
what's your grade for him?
A plus. I thought it was really good.
I would give the broadcast an A plus all the way around.
You love the broadcast.
I think Lee Diffie was a great addition, a fresh, exciting voice.
No commercials.
Yeah, it was great. And then I know it's kind of like circumstantial, but having Jeb Burton there for that moment as Harrison came across first was just as much as Lee Diffie batted 1,000 that whole race. It felt like the moment was kind of stolen by the Burton family, rightfully so. But just, I don't know, overall. And then I didn't even touch on Jimmy Johnson. Then you have the addition of NASCAR legends like Jimmy Johnson. I think it was just overall really enjoyable broadcast. And the finish, seeing the family run down there on the track, which seemingly everyone was okay with this week, which I found funny. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a great broadcast. So, yeah, I'm just really happy with the result. And
what did you think of him, Large? Since you hate,
I'm gonna go to Moonhead first because I might be the Moonhead. How do you feel about Lee Diffie?
A plus.
Yeah?
I mean, I've been a Lee Diffie believer for a long time, so I'm really happy to see him in NASCAR. But I mean, he proved why he's one of the best. To me, you could tell he cared. You could tell he had researched every driver in that field. Like he would just pull the most crazy storylines out of his ass, but make them seem like they matter. It wasn't the generic like, oh, this guy is fighting to make it in the playoff. Like he was talking about Cody Ware at one point, like at the end of the day, like in the playoff picture, nobody cares about where Cody Ware's running. But like the fact that he was up there and the fact that Lee Diffie was acknowledging him or acknowledging Retzlaff's troubles in the Xfinity race the night before and just stuff like that, it made every pass or every battle or every side-by-side situation seem like it mattered. And I'm not shitting on Rick Allen necessarily when I say like Lee Diffie did a good job. It's just it was a breath of fresh air to have something new, something I don't even know the word for it. He did so much better than anybody else, really. And that's not a dig at them. I love Mike Joy. I love Rick Allen. Like I don't really complain about the booths we've got, at least for the Cup. I mean, the truck booth gets a little rough, but for the Cup side of things, I don't really complain about the booth talent. Like I feel like they do all right. Any problems or complaints I usually have are on the production side. But Lee Diffie, I mean, just he's he's a mile ahead of everybody else, in my opinion.
And the accent doesn't bother you?
Not at all. I love it.
I
actually
agree.
love it.
Think it adds to it?
I agree. I think I'll play devil's advocate again. I almost am bothered by the broadcast when I can't differentiate who's speaking, when they all sound the same exact good old Southern boy. No offense. I know that's probably a good portion of our audience, but it's just like, what's going on? I kind of like the diverse voices, explicitly who's saying what. And I don't know. I thought it was really cool. You got Jimmy, who's soft-spoken. You've got the Australian full of energy. You've got Jeff Burton's country ass in there. I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
I did.
Wholeheartedly.
So you know how I watched it not live, like on a replay?
Yeah.
I thought I got the wrong version. I thought I got a different version of the broadcast because I was like, there's no way this guy's supposed to be announcing it. Then I realized he was just stepping in that week.
Rick Allen is still doing the play-by-play for the Xfinity Series. You think he comes on this weekend and is like, hello, mate. Welcome to the Xfinity 250. I didn't want to like this Lee Diffie guy, and I was ready to shit all over him. You know what I mean? Just because I have to keep up this narrative that we have that I'm the ignorant guy that loves the United States. Yep. But then I had read this. Diffie obtained his United States citizenship in 2011, explaining, this is his fucking quote, "This country has given me so much and I felt I needed to give back. That's why I accepted U.S. citizenship. I'm an Australian and I'm also an American." Holy shit. That made everything okay. Lee Diffie is an A-plus fucking announcer. And I know you guys had alluded to it. He was incredibly prepared. I mean, we could tell you, trying to do this, sometimes it's impossible to get prepared for a fucking podcast. That guy got up there and pured it. I kind of like the fact that James Bond voice or whatever the fuck it was, or Crocodile Dundee, as Spider was saying, was breaking up some of the other type things. So, yeah, he gets an A-plus for me, even though I hate foreigners. All right, so he's actually a former resident of Charlotte. He now resides in Connecticut. He's up in CT.
Yeah, he is.
The Spiders
he's also
people.
He's represented by a very good family friend of mine as his talent agent.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I'm not just saying those compliments about Lee Diffie because that is the case. I actually truly believe everything I said. So congrats to both of them. Not only the agent for getting him a great job in broadcasting and something that we both love, but Lee, who also delivered in his first debut race. So very enjoyable.
So seeing a guy like Suarez go get a citizenship, seeing a guy like Diffie get a citizenship, this is happening. Maybe I'm wrong on this. SVG gets his citizenship. I'm gonna have to find another fucking shit.
And Rick Allen, get ready to learn supercars, buddy. We should trade him to Australia.
No,
I'm just kidding. Like Moonhead said, I really didn't think he should have been fired or was in need of a replacement. That being said, he did get Wally Pipp. Someone much better came along. Now I don't know how we're ever gonna go back to Rick Allen when Lee Diffie, like I said, batted 1,000 and threw a perfect game. So that's my take on that.
Do you think with the positive feedback he's been getting, I know there's been some negative, he's going to ask for a bag. Lee Diffie's, if he hasn't already, a guy is making a fucking
Honestly,
bag.
He's going to be in a position to be if he just plays his cards right. As Mike Joy, what did he say? He's got one more year left. We're going to need a voice of the sport here soon, and clearly Lee proved that he's better than Rick. So I don't know. He might be the next guy in line, and I would be content with that. So.
And he wasn't overboard. So we had 16 cars that DNF'd. We only had 4 cars in that race that came through without any kind of damage. Shout out to NASCAR, by the way, because every one of these cars involved in every one of these wrecks, the drivers basically got out and they were safe and sound. And some of them were spectacular. McDowell going a lot of airborne shit lately, even with the new fin that they put in. And Lee never went, throw another car on the Barbie. Like, he never fucking went, oh, that's a fucking boomerang didgeridoo, whatever the fuck they say over there. You know what I mean? Like, so I thought that it was pretty good. What about Ty Gibbs running the Reagan scheme? That was kind of cool.
Did you see his fit?
Quaid shows up. Yeah, did you see his fit at the premiere?
Oh my God,
that went hard. Right?
Yeah. Manoli, put a photo of Ty Gibbs fit on the screen right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll send you
cowboy hat, Louis Vuitton shirt, I think it was.
Yeah, I just find that's one of the things about NASCAR. You can't do that in another professional sport. You can't run a Reagan scheme. Whatever. I found it to be a little bit refreshing. Front row had its first front row with McDowell and Gilliland starting P1, P2. Josh Berry had a very good race. I was like, oh my God, he's going to win this race and lock up Rookie of the Year from Carson Hocevar. I guess, is Carson Hocevar Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, it's him. It's basically the races between him and Josh Berry.
Right. And Josh,
I think Hocevar's got it locked up.
Yeah. Zane Smith and one other, Kaz Grala, make out the 4 contestants for Rookie of the Year, but I don't think either of them are really being considered.
Yeah, or just give it to Zane and then take it away and give it to somebody else, because that seems to be what people fucking do nowadays. But Josh Berry got his first Cup stage win ever in Stage 1, which congratulations to him. I got to push from the 17 to beat the 22 to the line in Stage 1. Daniel Suarez, I know Quiggs had alluded to no commercials, but there was a commercial at some point. I don't know exactly how that worked out, because we came back from commercial break and Daniel Suarez was on fire. And I thought that was fucking wild, the way that he reacted. He was casually...
Well, I guess that was the end of the stage, right?
Maybe, yeah. So, no lie. Yeah, exactly, because it was maybe during pits, but still, it was... there was an inferno going on behind Daniel. Yeah. That fire was in the car, and he was just casually going along until somebody pulled his ass out. So I don't know if he didn't see it or whatever, or didn't feel it, but that was fucking wild. And then there was a huge crash on lap 61 when Corey LaJoie gave Noah Gragson a bad push that collected 18 cars.
Yeah, back to my thing about I can't see front row welcoming Corey LaJoie. Yeah. If it's going to be Todd who got cut off, and then Noah who got wrecked.
Yeah. And then the big story is obviously Wood Brothers got their 100th win. Jeff and Kim Burton got to watch their son Harrison get his first Cup win. This is the quote from Harrison, who, again, we're going to have on in a couple minutes. I cried the whole victory lap. I obviously got fired from my job, and I wanted to do everything for the Wood Brothers that I could. They had given me an amazing opportunity in life. To get them to 100 on my way out is amazing. This is a 23-year-old kid saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, I cried the whole victory lap, pussy. No, but this is a kid who's saying, I obviously got fired from the job, but I want to do everything that I could, and to get them to 100 on my way out is amazing. That's a very, very adult thing for a 23-year-old kid who's, on top of being a basket of hormones, he's a basket of emotions at that time. So I just thought it was fucking wonderful. But Parker Retzlaff, another young gentleman, is getting some shit for it. Can somebody explain to me why Parker would have done anything but try to win that race by bumping the 21?
Yeah, I don't really understand it. He's a part-time driver for a part-time team that was fielding a car in this race. Granted, I'm aware of their alliance or manufacturer agreement with RCR. But yeah, it's a plate track. We've heard people get on the mic post-race and say they would move their own grandma to win the race. Yeah. You can't knock Parker for doing what he did. If anything, I think everyone should, I can't say that word, unanimously be of the opinion that he should be receiving flowers, not criticism. He drove his ass off. Granted, there were several wrecks that led him to be in the position he was late in the race, but at the end of the day, that's plate track racing. That happens nearly at every Daytona race where there's guys you don't expect, or like super long shots hanging around. My long shot was Justin Haley. I think Moonhead alluded to him last week, so I had a little sprinkle on him. He was driving his ass off, but that's just how it goes. And I was really impressed with Parker Retzlaff. He said in his post-race that he kind of got out of line. As much as he was pushing Harrison Burton, he didn't have enough energy himself to make a move on Harrison. But all things considered, for a guy who's a part-time driver, an Xfinity driver, a young kid who looks like one of the most unassuming dudes ever, to drive,
Robbie Fox.
Yeah, for Robbie Fox to drive like that. I don't know. I was really impressed, and I think he should not be subject to any criticism. Instead, compliments, like I said.
Yeah. I tend to agree. Everybody else or did he break some cardinal rule here? I know there is.
Who knows, Large? Could he now be facing Zane Smith fucking ridicule next year when he's looking to move up?
By
where
the
they're going to be like, remember what you did at Daytona? No. I don't know. I think Parker, from my perspective, was doing the right thing and did a hell of a job while doing it.
I think it's a crazy act to be like, make sure you don't pass the 8. Isn't that's what it was? They were like, make sure you don't push.
Don't bump the 21. Do not push a Ford into victory lane, I guess was what they were trying to tell him.
If I'm
and then
Parker Retzlaff and I'm up there in third or wherever he was, that's like in 1 year, out the other. It's like I'm not thinking about getting Kyle Busch a win right now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So I'm going to ask you this, Moon, on top of Parker Retzlaff. Do you think that Kyle Busch has any regrets this week where he's like, I should have just sent that kid into the fucking wall and you know, got this monkey off my back and changed the whole storyline for, you know, Kyle Busch and RCR after all the fucking headlines we've had in the past couple of days? You think Kyle Busch has some regrets? We're going to ask Harrison about Parker Retzlaff, and we're going to ask about how clean Kyle Busch had raced him at the end. But should Kyle Busch have sent him into the fucking wall?
No, I don't think so. I think if anything, he probably regrets some lane choices or maybe not blocking at certain times. But I don't think he'd regret not turning him coming out of turn 4 to the tribal, because that's a bad. He's been in that situation back in like 08 or 09. Tony Stewart did that to him. Well, Kyle wrecked himself, but he knows what it's like to get turned out of turn 4 in front of the pack coming to the checkered at Daytona, and that's never a good deal. We've seen some really, really bad crashes that way. So I don't think Kyle regrets not wrecking him, but I do think there were probably some moves defensively or some lane choices on restarts or whatever that he probably could have positioned himself a little better. But it's also Daytona. Sometimes shit just happens. And, you know.
I also think, Moon brought up a good point, and I think, Large, your question reminded me. I think you can't talk about this race without kind of giving Kyle Busch credit. It would have been too easy to just move him. Instead, Kyle Busch raced respectfully, like the mature Rowdy Busch, and I kind of think that needs to be acknowledged slash he needs to get some credit for that. So,
and didn't need to wreck him. There was
but why not? He'd be able to do it with so subtly that the SMT data, without being Austin Dillon, without choosing violence, I think he probably would have been able to. He would have been very demure, and finesse that guy up. You know what I mean?
I agree, but that Harrison Burton threw some amazing blocks at the end where if those don't land, Busch probably just wins that race. I mean, they were so close anyway that. I think you just try to race that clean and win.
Also, Kyle Busch, I couldn't tell what to make of his post-race interview. It almost seemed kind of sarcastic, but I genuinely think he was being honest when he was like, "I'm happy with the P2. We got lucky avoiding some of those wrecks, and I have to be happy with this result." Granted, obviously he wants to win, but I don't know. His perspective was kind of interesting and refreshing. It wasn't as mad Kyle Busch, sarcastic, that we've kind of come to know this season.
I would fucking love for him to win this week. I would love to cap off the season by having Kyle Busch win and get into the playoffs or whatever. But yeah, I think he did the right thing. Kyle Larson, do you think Max Verstappen could have ran that race better? I do. No?
I was actually surprised that you put this on our sheet here, Large.
Didn't it cause a lot of fucking problems? I mean, I was watching Kyle for some reason throughout the whole thing. I mean, I know you have to be aggressive and good. There aren't any winners out there who aren't aggressive, but he almost seemed violent, at Daytona. It's maybe it's just me. I'm in a mood to shit on Kyle Larson.
No, I mean, I was actually sneaky kind of impressed with him. I know he's not historically a plate track driver. I mean, he's one of the best drivers in the circuit, but when it comes to plate tracks, he's usually not one of the guys that I'm entertaining taking. And he finished 21st, which is not, anything too impressive, especially when we're talking about Kyle Larson. But there were, I don't know, I felt like he was running up front for a good portion of the race. He was making aggressive moves. Granted, yes, they were aggressive, but
I thought a couple of them were dumb. But I'll go back and I'll look at it.
In terms of driving like an asshole, I don't think it's his award to win this week. I think it's a driver that we named before that I'm not going to say again. Okay. We'll just move on. But
yeah, I hear you. We're going to get on with my man Harrison Burton in just 1 second. Before we do that, let's put a bow on this weekend that just passed us. We'll do the Nobody's Cooler segment. I got Arctic right here. We're, by the way, Large on the back, Talladega on the front. We believe here at Rubbin is Racing that our coolers and our insulated drinkware shouldn't cost a whole paycheck. So Arctic's products are overbuilt, not overpriced, meaning their products cost 30 to 50% less than competitors, and they last. They're engineered to perform and overbuilt to last year after year. Ultra tough coolers, ultra light coolers, wheeled coolers, softback coolers, and insulated drinkware that locks in temperature whether your drinks are icy cold or red hot. And Arctic is now available at Walmart, so head to your local store to shop in person and pick up anything. The rest of those ones that you guys are doing, Stanley's, Yetis, throw them the fuck out. They suck and they're way overpriced. So go to Walmart, get yourself some Arctic gear right now, or go to arcticoutdoors.com, RTICoutdoors.com. I got a sweatshirt from them the other day that's actually waterproof and fucking wonderful. So, and don't forget Arctic Outdoors, the official cooler and drinkware of NASCAR. Head to arcticoutdoors.com to check out more. arcticoutdoors.com. I don't know who you guys were going to pick for coolest of the this one, but I have to give it to Lane Riggs, right? I thought that was the greatest clip. It was the greatest clip. So Scott Riggs is the father of Lane Riggs, and Lane Riggs joined him as a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series winner after Sunday's victory in Milwaukee. Lane and Scott are the second father-son duo to win in the NASCAR Truck Series. I found that to be amazing. Only 2 father-son duos with all the nepotism in this fucking sport have done it. So it's Lane and Scott Riggs, and the other is Bob and Brad Keselowski. That's kind of cool. And the best thing about it, and Manoli, you could throw this clip up there. Riggs wins the race, gets up on his hood, starts celebrating with his hands in the air, and he pops his own fucking shoulder out. It was awesome. He needed help getting off the thing, and then to make matters even better, he had his pit crew set his fucking shoulder like Mel Gibson in the original Lethal Weapon. It was an old injury.
Celebrating right after again.
Yeah, start doing the fist pump again. It's an old injury, I guess, that he had from riding dirt bikes. So he's got a trick shoulder, but it was just very, very cool to see. I know his Truck Series career may not have been what people have expected it to be, but pulling off this win and then having a victory celebration for the ages, there's nobody cooler as far as I'm concerned than Lane Riggs. So congratulations to him. That was a great fucking clip. Correct, guys?
Amazing.
Yeah. One of the best.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. So with that, we're going to go 3 wide with Harrison Burton to break down the newest member of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, which kick off in just 2 weeks' time. So as promised, we have NASCAR's newest winner and Cup Series' newest playoff driver in Harrison Burton. And for some reason, he looked like the cat that just ate the canary, just happy as all shit. We really appreciate your time coming on because I'm sure you're doing a car wash with a bunch of other shows. Harrison Burton, welcome to Rubbin' Racing. How you feeling today, my man?
I feel great. This is the first day that my voice is starting to slowly come back. I lost my voice for the last couple of days, and yeah, it's just been a whirlwind. Been a lot of, like you said, a lot of interviews, but it's a lot more fun than talking about when you don't win. It's way more fun to do interviews when you win. So, yeah, just a really cool experience. Just got back from, like a little win lunch with the Wood brothers. So, really cool experience.
So how cool is it for them to get the 100th win? Obviously, one of the most historic teams in NASCAR, the oldest team, fielding cars since 1950. I could rattle off 20 legendary drivers that have raced for them, and now you've etched your name in Wood Brothers history. How significant is that? How good does it feel?
It's unreal, man. I mean, for me, obviously, the walls were kind of closing in on that opportunity, right? Like I was in a spot where, I had just a few races left with that group. I love that group. They've been nothing but really respectful and kind and just amazing to me and my family. And so, even through the process of me getting replaced next year, I feel like those guys have handled that with a lot of class. And I wanted to get that 100th win. I think when you look at, just the opportunity that is to win that 100th win for the Wood brothers, to do it at Daytona, and you just get a really good opportunity to go and get it. It's hard. It would be really, really hard to lay your head down at night if we didn't execute and get that done. So, really, really cool. Really fun couple of days afterwards, and then now we're back to work. I was in a simulator this morning at 7, getting ready for Darlington. So. That's the beauty, and sometimes it sucks about racing is there's always another one next week, so you gotta move on and get ready to roll.
You talked a little bit about what happened following your win, but I want to talk about before. I heard a little story that you might have kind of called your shot. You, your good buddy, Todd Gilliland and Austin Cindric were all maybe eating lunch, and you said, hey, the winner of this Daytona race is sitting at this table. Can you tell us what that story?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was during the rain delay in between Michigan, you know, and we were just talking about Daytona coming up, and we had a pretty good feeling. All of us, whether it's Austin, who obviously has won the Daytona 500, Todd is always up front in those races at the end. I feel like I've led, you know, quite a bit of laps in these kind of races, and we all felt pretty strong about kind of how we had worked together too recently. Like, I got to help push Cindric to a stage win at Talladega earlier in the year, things like that. So felt like we could kind of work together and get going and then settle it between us. And it didn't actually work out that way, but yeah, just we all thought it was going to be one of us three that won the race. I'm pretty sure all of us probably thought it was ourselves, and yeah, I was just fortunate to be one of the three. So it was pretty cool. Really, really wild. Just the amount of different things that are like that have led up to this win. Whether it's you know, Bailey Wood, who's you know, one of the youngest Wood brother family members, was literally telling me probably 150 times before I got my car that I was going to win. You know, just all these different weird things where people had said that they had a feeling we were going to win and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it happened. So it was pretty cool.
Spider had said extremely eloquently earlier in the show that Parker Retzlaff deserves flowers and not criticism. That was the quote from Spider. I wrote it down. I think that's great. Talk to me about that. Yeah, talk to me about that. Like, do you send him some Omaha steaks? Do you send him is Retzlaff even 21? I think he is 21.
He is.
Right?
I had to ask in the media center because I did want to buy him a beer.
Yeah.
I did ask in the media center afterwards, like, is Parker Retzlaff 21 years old? Because I would love to get this guy a beer. But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you know, I guess I've seen he's getting some flack, I guess, for pushing me.
Yeah.
That to me sucks because that was his chance to win the Cup race too. I mean, you know, it was his second Cup race ever. He put himself in position to win. And as a driver, just like how I said, if I had you know, if I hadn't have won and would have gotten let go of my job from the Wood brothers and not have gotten win 100 after 3 years, I would regret that. If he lays over and falls out of the line, because if you're not pushing, you will get shucked out of the line. He's going to regret that for the rest of his life. You don't know how many chances you get to A, be in a Cup car, or B, have a legitimate chance to win a Cup race. So I agree. I mean, he did a great job pushing me. He pushed me well. He pushed me in a way that wasn't going to wreck me. But, you know, we had a monster run down the back straightaway. And you know, we kind of, you know, we're put in a situation we had to work together. And it worked out well. I was able to drag back to him, keep our lane kind of connected. And then all of a sudden we were coming with a head of steam.
It was just crazy to see because you had a guy like Brad Kay, who's old as fuck. I mean, he's like me. You know what I mean? You got a guy like Kyle Busch who's, you know, chasing that 19-year thing. And then all of a sudden, I mean, you're a 23-year-old kid. You know, you look younger. And then fucking Parker Retzlaff looks like Bran Stark, for Christ's sake, right? Like, you know, so these two young guns, first of all, they survive what had happened, all the carnage that happens at Daytona. So even talk to me about that, because this wasn't like a survive and you were the last guy on the track. There was a tremendous amount of finesse. Quiggs had mentioned it earlier in the podcast about how you had laid some blocks down on one of the best drivers in the history of NASCAR. So there was a tremendous amount of finesse, but there was a tremendous amount of carnage that you had to avoid. So talk to me about going towards the light smoke versus the dark smoke, all that shit that we hear about when this carnage is going on.
Yeah, it was crazy. A lot of them I have no idea how I got through, especially the two I have in mind. I was running, I think I was in the third row of the outside lane when we had the last caution, and those two guys crashed, and I slipped through a hole that closed probably a half inch after I got through. And then the one where McDowell basically flipped in front of the entire field, saw his roof numbers flying at me, and I'm like, oh, that's going to hurt really bad. I literally didn't even have to move my hands. Like, I was looking out front, looking at him flying through the air, slow down, and looking at my rear view camera, make sure I didn't get ran over. And the way everyone split around, I literally just kept my hands straight and like got through that wreck. Same thing with the wreck, before the last restart.
So you got through both of them, and then you wound up doing your stuff in at the end of the race, and you come away with the win. And we couldn't be happier for you. What do you got, Spider?
Yeah, so I found an interesting stat about this. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, they made 98 Cup starts before they got their first win.
Correct.
Same with Harrison Burton. Did you know you were in that company, and how good does it feel to be alongside those names who have won NASCAR Cup Series championships? Is a Cup Series championship in Harrison Burton's future?
It's funny. Like, you just you don't realize how hard it is until you hear it took Kyle Larson 98 races to win in Cup, or Chase Elliott 98 races to win in Cup. And a lot of times you forget about those guys' rookie years, and like that they had to go through learning times too. And I don't know that it means I'm going to win a Cup Series championship or not. I hope it does. That'd be cool. But what it does mean is it takes time to develop when you're a young guy, and especially, I got in Cup really young. I was 21 when I was in Cup, and it took me a while, I think, to get developed, and I'm still developing. I'm only 23 now. I'm still a really young guy, pretty experienced for my age. I've got a lot of races under my belt for my age, but it's a cool stat for sure. I wanted to time it up, like get number 100 for the Wood Brothers on my 100th start. I thought maybe there was some energy going for that one, but just got it too early.
Yeah, that's a problem to have. But yeah, talk about racing Kyle at the end. Talk about racing somebody from RCR at the end, and knowing that there's a small history this year of sometimes those races not working out the way that they should. Kyle raced you extremely cleanly, right? And I'm sure you appreciate that. But was there a part in your mind where you said, this guy can do whatever he wants with a race car, right? And that's not being detrimental to you at all. But you know that you're in there with a goat, right? Or one of the goats. So how did it feel coming down the final stretch with him, and you maybe going into turn 4 and wondering if there was going to be something happening where he was going to try and take that race?
I mean, it's so hard because it happens so fast, right? Like my whole focus, the whole last restart was just coming up with different plans in my head, the different scenarios that I thought could happen. It was nice. I had a red flag before that where I could just sit and kind of think about different plays in my head of like how it was going to go down. I figured that those two would pick the bottom with Kyle and Christopher Bell, and then it'd be me and Parker in the top. I had a feeling that would happen. So that kind of just let me think through the scenario. What if Kyle gets clear on the restart? What do I have to do to Christopher to keep them disconnected so they can't push ahead and get clear? Christopher was very briefly clear of me, but that was for a quick second, and I was able to kind of get back to his right rear quarter panel and slow him down. And then, just creating that run with Parker was pretty cool, and slowing Christopher down in the middle of trying to pull back to get the run from Parker was worked out great. I was grabbing his quarter panel while I was dragging brakes. So just stacking all the lines up and then going, right? And then once I got clear of Kyle, it was really funny because I had all these, all this stuff in my head of what I'm going to do. I've watched a million of these races at the end. I feel like I know what makes guys win and lose these races, and it's really hard to do it in the moment. I'm just, but I feel like I'm, at least educated about it and have done my homework. So relied on that. And then I got out front and I'm like, oh crap, now what? like you said, Kyle is behind me. He's in a must-win scenario. I'm obviously in a must-win scenario. And so, it was definitely in my head. I thought it was probably 50-50. I was going to win or I was going to crash. And I was just glad we hit the good side of that 50-50 chance.
It's fantastic.
So, unfortunately announced earlier this year that you wouldn't be returning to the 21. What has the conversations looked like with future potential landing spots since before this race win and now after? Has your phone just been ringing off the phone? What have those conversations looked like?
Not really. I mean, it's not been ringing any more than it was, and I think that's good. I think I want to go somewhere that has believed in me as a driver, or even before, Daytona win. I think that's the recipe for success. I think you can't go somewhere that doesn't believe in you fully. If you do, you end up with, some indecision in the team, somebody doubting you right off the rip. And you just never going to be successful. You have to have a group that believes in you. And, so that has kind of been a blessing about it, is I feel like I've kind of got that narrowed down and getting close to having something somewhat done and feel good about the direction of where everything's going. It's just, now what really has been fun is I can just focus on, now racing in the playoffs and racing, these last few races for the Wood Brothers, ending on a really, really damn good note, right? Of, we can make some noise. We could be a Cinderella team in the playoffs. There's no reason we can't. We've got a really great team. We're getting more and more confident week in and week out. We just have to execute. These races in the playoffs are really, really tough, really, really wild card races. So, pretty awesome opportunity for us to try and make some noise.
But you didn't run back to the hauler and change your LinkedIn resume at all? Real quick. I mean, just ran back. I just won Daytona. No.
Yeah, I should have. I should have instantly just hopped. I make a LinkedIn real quick and hop on and just put that up there. But no, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. I think Daytona is its own animal, right? Like, it wasn't necessarily a traditional race win where you go out and you're faster than everyone. But what it was finding a way to perform in a high pressure scenario, like you said, with Kyle Busch, trying to pass you for the win, for him to, for his own personal milestones, for him to make the playoffs. That was a hungry Kyle Busch that we as a team had to beat. So, that in of itself, and performing under that pressure, I think is worth something for sure.
So I'm glad you didn't run back to the hauler to update your LinkedIn, because you provided us with some of the greatest broadcast emotional. I was nearly tearing up.
His fiance ran back and she got his password and she was like, fuck this. And she put it in.
No, but how cool was it celebrating down there with your family? Obviously a very interesting perspective, having your dad on the broadcast, which I'm of the opinion was one of the best calls we've heard recently between both Lee and your dad. And then having your mom, your fiance there greet you. And aside from your family, who was the most surprising or biggest name that reached out and congratulated you?
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's a lot of emotions in that, right? All those people have been there for me, and what's been some really hard years recently as far as on the track goes. They've believed in me sometimes more than I probably believed in myself in some of these times, and keep pushing me to keep going. And for my dad to be in the booth is really fun, because I get to go and there's a camera on him. I get to see his reaction, exactly what happened. I get to see what he says or doesn't say. Normally he does completely nonverbal if I win, which is, I think he just wants it to be a non-biased broadcast, right? That's his biggest thing, is he doesn't think that the fans want a Harrison Burton broadcast. They want their favorite driver to be represented as well. And so he tries, to get out of it as much as he can. And Lee Diffie did an amazing job on the call. It was pretty cool. You could see, he's setting up his story, Kyle Busch. It's been a while since he's won at Daytona. And then he's like, here comes Harrison Burton. It's pretty sweet. So
yeah, it was awesome.
It was an awesome call. You'll have that forever. That's just incredible.
Yeah, it was cool.
Any truth to the rumor that Ross Chastain paid you $500,000 to take out Chris Buescher and Bubba Wallace in the next race, since you already got the sticker? Is that I'd heard that, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but
it's a lot of money. Yeah.
No, but what I will say about Ross and Bubba is those guys got really, really hurt by me winning in the playoffs standings. Obviously, it knocked them kind of below the cut line. But those two dudes were some of the first guys in victory lane to come congratulate me after it really kind of screwed them over. And that was really, really meant a lot to me, and I think to my race team as well, just because I feel like we try to do things the right way and try and go about things the right way. And when you do win with, doing it the right way. And I think it was cool that showed with those guys, coming and congratulating us, even though it put them in a bad spot.
Everybody congratulated you. It was awesome to see. I mean, honestly, that's the most salient point to be made. The two guys that got screwed by your win were also congratulatory to you, because they don't need to be. But everyone came over. It really was very, very fucking cool to see. that all of a sudden Logano had no problems being in victory lane afterwards. You know what I mean? To come over and see his friend. Yeah, I just think that it's great. So you had alluded to it with Spider, and we're not looking to steal any kind of scoop or anything, but you had alluded to it that you feel comfortable. I don't know the exact word that you said about your prospects for next year. Am I understanding that correctly? You feel comfortable about being in a seat and whatnot next year? I don't want the scoop unless you want to give it to us.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident I'll have a job. How about that?
Okay,
good.
I'm
going to be a race car driver next year. I know that. So that's really good. I get to continue doing what I love. And it's really cool. Like you said, Joey, Ryan, who won number 99 for the Wood Brothers.
Yeah.
I think he spent like an hour in victory lane just handing everyone Busch Light, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just in full fire suit still, like just chilling out with everybody, sitting down, hanging out. So it was special for him because he wanted to get 100 for them. He got 99 for them and kind of, set it up for us to go get 100. And those guys have been waiting for a long time to celebrate that with the Wood family. So pretty neat.
So, Harrison, I love that you compartmentalize where your head's at. Like, obviously, still working out next year's stuff, but your main focus, as you just told us, was focusing on the playoffs and before you. So I guess my final question for you, Harrison, if there's one spot in the playoffs in the first round or wherever it may be that is lucrative or a good spot for you and the 21 car, what is it, and what are you kind of maybe eyeing? I know obviously you want good results in every race, but is there one that you feel better about?
Yeah, it's going to take good results in every race. It really will. It's so hard to advance, in the playoffs in any of these NASCAR series. You just have to be really pretty spot on. Atlanta's a big wild card. Obviously, we just won at a drafting style racetrack. That's a drafting style racetrack. So, obviously, you got to have that one circled. I think everyone has that circled as a big opportunity and could also completely derail your season because all those wrecks I was saying, it was so miraculous. I slipped through. It was so, lucky at times. And my spotter, Jason Jarrett, who's Dale Jarrett's son, by the way, who's another cool guy that got to come to Victory Lane and hang out with us, did a great job of, keeping me through those wrecks. But they could just as easily end up in your lap at a place like Atlanta and take you into a big points deficit. Then you go to Watkins Glen, where it's, there's making some changes to the racetrack, some tire changes. It's going to be pretty interesting there. And then from then going to Bristol, where we had like one of the most chaotic races of the season, where tires were blowing and falling off like crazy and cording. And, there's just so much room for chaos in those races that if you look at one as kind of a spot to just have a smooth race, I would think it would be Watkins Glen. But I think our best opportunity to go win again would be Atlanta.
I love that the fact that you're going into this to win again, too. I mean, I know you're a natural competitor, and that's the way that you want to be. But with all the stuff that's happened to you this season, for a kid who's 23 years old and is in the spotlight, we were talking about it before you came on. You really handled the whole thing like a gentleman, as a guy way beyond your age. So congratulations to you guys, the whole team, and to your family. We're extremely happy for you, and we can only wish you the best of luck. If you need to scoop where you're going next, Spider's DMs are open. All right,
I got you. I'll shoot Spider a DM. I'll let him know.
Yeah. Awesome. Just let us know so we can get first in line for some of the merch. Alrighty, so this is Harrison Burton. He's a playoff driver, and he's a friend of Rubbin is Racing. Congratulations, and we'll talk to you soon, my man.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right, so we're back. Harrison Burton is a gem, and I wish him nothing but good things. If we went back to what everybody wanted, or it seems like a lot of people want, only the top 25 are eligible even with the win, as opposed to top 25 or top 30, as opposed to this win or you're in type thing. Do you think there would be so much less juice for this kid? The storyline is Harrison Burton was fired from Wood Brothers, and he just won Wood Brothers their 100th race. And he did it with his dad on the call, and he did it at Daytona, and he beat Kyle Busch. And I think the fourth part is that he's now a playoff driver. Do you guys agree with that? That there's enough juice in this story without him being a fucking playoff driver? I know it's better for him that he is. I know it's better for Wood Brothers that it is. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, did he need this?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm asking.
I think that if this race occurred 2-3 years ago when he would not have been eligible for the playoffs with this win, it still would have had the significance, the emotion, the drama, pending all the other factors were the same. It still had the same broadcast crew. It still had the same finish. I don't know. I think even if this win didn't get Harrison Burton into the playoffs, it's still kind of like Cinderella Disney movie drama.
Right. So that's my point. So should we go back to the top 25 or top 30 are only eligible with a win because of the 34th, now sliding up to 16? Or do you want to keep it this way? Do you want?
I think so. As much as I want,
you think what?
Which one?
The going back to you have to be in the top 25, because as much as I want, I'm a huge March Madness fan. I love that run. That just doesn't really happen in NASCAR, and I don't know. It is cool that they get you automatically get in, but I don't know. It sucks when somebody that could be a lot more competitive on a normal race might not get that chance. But I don't know. It's tough. I don't want it to come out of the interview from him and be like, yeah, he doesn't deserve a playoff
No,
spot.
I think it's the broader conversation either way. Yeah. Personally, I'm still in love with this whole Cinderella thing. And I love the fact that he's in there. I don't care if he doesn't make it past the first round. I think this is great, particularly for this young man and this young man's story. And now talking to him, I'm even more of a fucking fan. I can't wait until and I'm happy that he kind of knows that he's safe next season.
Yeah,
I love all of that about him. I'm just wondering, and I don't want to put a damper on what was a great Ryan Truex. That's a great win for Ryan Truex, a guy who doesn't have a full-time ride. I think Mamba tweeted it out. A Riggs won, but it wasn't Scott Riggs. A Truex won, but it wasn't Martin Truex. A Burton won. It was a very, very interesting weekend. I just wondered if it would still be that interesting a weekend. I think it would, even if it didn't have playoff implications on the Cup side. So, I don't know. Maybe you'd leave it or not. I don't give a fuck.
It pains me to say, but I kind of agree with Quiggs. There are good drivers that are just, being left out, that will be left out.
We're going to have to wrap up here pretty soon. So no trucks this week. Xfinity is Saturday at 3:30 on USA. And the final race of the regular season will be the Cookout Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway. The track too tough to tame. And you can watch all the action on Sunday starting at 6 p.m. because this is Labor Day weekend, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I believe that's also on USA this week. Oldest super speedway race. Considered one of the crown jewels. Let's get it. I can't fucking wait for it to be quite honest with you. One of the things that I had pulled off is that we're too early in the week to see most of the paint schemes. Do you guys see the Tyler Reddick paint scheme I threw in there for this week? The 45?
No.
Oh, man. He's running the upper deck scheme with Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, and Tiger Woods on the hood. And it's kind of got that old school upper deck blue and yellow across it.
It's hot.
I think I like this thing a lot.
Oh, yeah. I think it's
You hate
disgusting.
it? Okay.
Yeah,
I think people are going to hate this thing. I kind of like it. So you hate it?
It reminds me of the Caitlin Clark car.
Yeah, but it's like an uglier version. I don't know. Something about it is... I don't know. They could have done something cool.
It kind of just screams 90s to me, which is what I like about it.
Yeah, so do I.
I will say it does... It's ugly, but the more I look at it, it accomplishes, I think, what they were going for. It definitely gives you that vibe. So,
and like you said, Large, looking at that, that's like upper decker, or upper deck logo. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's synonymous.
I think it's got a certain degree of nostalgia for me, just seeing the upper deck logo. Race fans can download a free promotional digital trading card featuring Tyler Reddick's upper deck race car today on ePack. I don't even know what that means, and I'm certainly not going to do it. I just think the car is cool as shit, to be quite honest with you.
So I was an ad read for a second. I was like, "Damn, we just shit all over this card."
No. I just happened to see that, and again, I have no fucking clue what it means, but I think it's a cool card.
Download your ePack today.
Yeah, my new ePack. But that's it. So we're going into Darlington this weekend. We're going to have to make a couple of picks. And this is brought to you by DraftKings. We had an appetizer last week. Now it's time to feast. College football is back. Don't miss any of the action. Jump into DraftKings Sportsbook. It's a full slate of games for week 1, including the big matchup in Atlanta between the preseason number 1 and the number 16. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Just try betting on something simple, like just picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, place your first bet. This is going to be DraftKings' biggest college football season to date. Enjoy the ride now all the way through the expanded playoffs. And for all the newbies getting into the college spirit, here's something extra special. New DraftKings customers bet only $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin, R-U-B-B-I-N. For new customers, get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. This is not just for college football, that $200 bonus bets. Spider had seen that they had bumped up some odds last week. I mean, you had an opportunity to make a bag if you were a Harrison Burton fan who just throws a couple bucks on him every week, and you have the opportunity to do that probably for the rest of the playoffs. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook right now. Use the code Rubbin. Bet $5. That's all we're asking, and you get $200 in bonus bets. Who do you guys like this week? Who wants to go first? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm going to give 2 outright winners, and they're probably going to be pretty cheesy, but I'm going with Denny Hamlin, who's currently plus 550. You look at Denny Hamlin's numbers here. He has an average finish of 8.3. In 24 races here, he has 13 top 5s. More than half the races he's finished in the top 5. For him to be north of 5-1, with that stat considered, I will be definitely adding that to my card. The second guy I'm taking is William Byron. In 12 races here, he has 4 top 10s. So 1/3 of the races those are top 5s. In 12 races here, he has 6 top 10s. Half the time he's finished within the top 10. A third of the time he's finished within the top 3. He's currently 9-1 on Barstool Sportsbook, and I really like that. And if you look at those 2 guys in the most recent races at Darlington, so since February 2021, per driveraverages.com, the 2 best drivers are William Byron and Denny Hamlin, both with average finishes of 10. They have 7 races there. Byron has 3 top 5s. Denny has 4 top 5s in those 7 races. So those are my 2 guys, and I think they're pretty fair priced for 2 guys I expect. Byron's been slumping. This is a good opportunity for him to shake it off and kind of get the monkey off his back, get back to victory lane, and get back in the championship race. Quiggs?
I'm actually going to jump in.
Yeah, please.
Before Quiggs takes mine, because they just put out the top 10s, I'm taking Eric Jones plus 130. There's no way Quiggs was taking that bet. There's no way that you're taking Eric Jones.
I thought about it until I realized that I just don't like Eric Jones.
Yeah. I'm taking Eric Jones.
But the numbers suggest taking that.
Yeah, I think so. Don't you?
Yeah.
So I'm plowing, and then I'm taking Tyler Reddick to win. And I'm also taking Kyle Busch to win just because I think Tyler Reddick is one of the favorites in Kyle Busch just for the storyline. So those are my 3 bets. Top 10 Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick to win, Kyle Busch to win.
Oh.
I like that. Wait,
Go.
You got something else before I go?
Justin Haley has 3 top 10s in his last 7 races here. He's currently plus 700 for a top 10.
Really?
That's right.
Yep. Michael McDowell is also, he has 3 top 10 finishes here in 7 races. He's plus 350 currently.
I'm going to bet here right now that I just put in 3. I'm probably going to add at least 1 more, and Spider's going to add at least 2 more before this race goes off for seat. Yeah. So stay tuned to our social. Quiggs, who's your picks?
If that Haley stat's true, I'll add that to my card.
He drove his ass off last week too. Momentum's a real thing.
He's plus 700 right now, yeah.
I've got another top 10, which is Chase Briscoe. And he's plus 250. He's got a really good, and I think maybe the best, ratio of average start to average finish, so he can move through the pack a little bit. And I like that at plus 250. And then for my main pick, I have a parlay of Denny Hamlin. And then also playing on Sunday is LSU USC. So I'm doing a Denny Hamlin LSU parlay.
Wow.
And that's plus 901. So just I think LSU's a lock. Add a little juice to Denny Hamlin. That's my play.
I like it. Moon, anything jumping out at you this week?
I like Briscoe, or not Briscoe. Sorry, no, I do not like Briscoe. I like Busher to win. I feel like he's gonna be hungry after what happened to him in the spring. Obviously, he's right there in the conversation of being in the playoffs or not being in the playoffs, and I could just see a walk-off win. But I could also, I know Large talked about Eric Jones. With how teams have been pulling good runs seemingly out of their asses the last few weeks, I think that this has Eric Jones written all over it. At Darlington, we've seen him do it before. So I could see just an incredible upset by Eric Jones. I could see him going out there and finding a way to win it. But this is also coming from a guy who has lost damn near every bet he has placed in the last calendar year. So take that information with a grain of salt. But those are the two sticking out to me.
I don't know if people at home pay attention to this, but there are a bunch of drivers pulling double duty this weekend, including Joey Logano, who's back in Haley Deegan's car, Chase Elliott, Chris Bell, Ross Chastain, Noah Gragson, and Shane are all doing double duty this weekend. So I don't know. Sometimes when they get a look at the track on Saturday, it helps them on Sunday.
Alex Bowman being 50-1 right now. I feel like that's worth a sprinkle.
Oh yeah. By the way, we're putting the Bowman hood up right outside of this studio. It's going up right in this hallway.
nice.
There's a couple of things that they're taking down, so they're going to put that thing up.
Awesome.
So thank you again to Hendrik for sending that out to us. That's it for Rubbin' His Race. And anybody have anything to promote? Anything they need to talk about that's exciting?
No, not really. Shout out Mooncar. Shout out. We're going to be doing some more iRacing stuff here very soon. Congratulations to Harrison Burton and the entire Burton family. Thank you to everyone who's listened and made it this far in the episode. So we'll see you guys next week.
Perfect. And I got a bunch of boxing shit hitting this week and next. Apparently, I was on DAZN last week with my interview with John Gotti III before he got embarrassed by Floyd Mayweather down in Mexico.
And work to get Canelo to the Mexico
I'll work
NASCAR
on
race.
Canelo right now. Yeah, Viva la Mexico, Cabrones. All righty, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. We'll talk to you guys next week. And thank you to Harrison Burton as well. See you guys in Rubbin's Racing.